put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning to all our viewers. We are here this morning here at Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. This is Youth Wednesdays on Tobago Updates. I will be your host this morning, Miss Natalia Nancis, and this morning I am joined with
Dwayne Nurse, and it's smack center in the middle of the week. I do apologize for how I sound. I'm a bit under the weather. You know that there's a flu going around, and for those of you who are susceptible to this flu, I urge you to take your bush medicines. You drink a lot of mint tea and stay away from milk just for a short period of time. But my name is Dwayne Nurse again, and it's a pleasure to be here with you to share youthful vigor, youthful vibe here on Tobago Updates and Youth Wednesdays on the Tobago Updates television show. We have a lot in store for you as per usual. Miss Nantis, you look lovely in your black and white.
Thank you so much,
with
and
your
you
red
do
lipstick.
look lovely. Oh, thank you.
Trying to compliment the blazer. And the,
Yes, of course.
I didn't get it
looks
with the black
lovely.
and white, but
I think
I mean,
turtlenecks are your thing. They really are.
It's a newfound love of mine. You know what I mean? So I just try that thing. I just really try.
That love is a good thing.
Yeah. So guys, we're gonna go over to news in 90 seconds with Miss Natalia Nancis.
Here is your news in 90 seconds for Wednesday, 5th February 2025. Deputy Commissioner of Police, Intelligence and Investigations, Suzette Martin, wrote to Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, head of the National Security Council, seeking details on the SSA's procurement of 2 sniper rifles. Martin questioned whether former Commissioner Erla Harewood Christopher or former SSA Director Major Roger Best informed the National Security Council and if approval was granted. The inquiry follows advice from DPP Roger Gaspard amid an ongoing investigation. Harewood Christopher was detained on January 30th and later suspended. The investigation continues with Parliament set to discuss interim police commissioner today. The legal team of former Commissioner of Police Erla Harewood Christopher is preparing to take legal action against the Police Service Commission for refusing to reverse her suspension. Lead attorney Pamela Elder, senior counsel, sent a pre-action letter on February 3rd calling the suspension unlawful. The Police Service Commission had until 2 p.m. on Friday, February 4th to respond but only acknowledged receipt. Elder argued the decision lacked necessary evidence and exceeded the Police Service Commission authority. Harewood Christopher was suspended after being detained over a sniper rifle procurement probe. Judicial review proceedings are expected to follow. Foreign Affairs Minister Dr. Amy Brown urged calm after U.S. President Donald Trump suspended U.S. aid funding for 90 days to review its alignment with his America First policy. This could affect Trinidad and Tobago's access to USAID-supported programs. Brown reassured the public that Trinidad and Tobago is strengthening regional ties through CELAC and OAS. CARICOM leaders will discuss the issue at an upcoming meeting. On U.S. deportations, Brown confirmed ongoing collaboration, but no official notice of 1,197 Trinidad and Tobago nationals being deported. He emphasized responsible management of the process with U.S. authorities. And that was your news in 90 seconds.
All right, thank you, Miss Natalia Nancis, for news in 90 seconds.
You're welcome, Dan.
It's always a pleasure for you to bring us the news on Wednesday and any other day that she brings the news, guys. It's a pleasure. We're going to go straight over to our birthdays this morning.
Yes.
And we are approaching the best season of, the year, which is the Pisces season. And, I think it would be remiss of me if birthday mention does not go out to Miss Ayana. Ayana, what trouble is this? Happy birthday goes out to you, Miss Winchester. Right? I want to wish you a special happy birthday. Comes from me, your friend, your dog, everything. You look lovely. I hope you look just as lovely today as your picture shows now. Happy birthday goes out to you. Who do we have next?
Up next, we have, drum roll please, Miss Janicia Frederick. Now, her picture was just on the screen. I'll ask the team to just bring it back up. A happy birthday to Miss Frederick this morning. I really do hope that you enjoy the entirety of the day, that God's richest blessings are rained down on you. And I mean, Dwayne is happy for the Pisces season, and I think there is no better person, such lovely person to start off that season just for Dwayne.
We're not in the Pisces season yet, but this
Yet,
is Aquarius. We're coming. We coming.
So she's finishing off the Aquarius season?
Not yet. It finishes on the 19th or the 20th, I believe.
All right.
You know, I just been preemptive now, you know. Yeah, excitement. You know, Pisces, we are the best, you know, from the 20th of February to the 20th of March, thereabout. You know, it's a pleasure, you know, the best, and we somewhat end the first quarter of the year,
yes,
you know, which runs from January to March. And Mr. Wood? all right. He gives the nut, guys. I'm going to go straight over to our rundown this morning. And this morning we are going to be speaking with none other than Mr. William Nurse, former ACP of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and attorney at law here in Tobago, about the brouhaha that is ensuing from the arrest and the debacle of the sitting Commissioner of Police. Up next we have Mr. Nurse, and we want to encourage you to join us as we delve into these matters, and remember to share the live. We'll be right back.
When the game is on, you don't want to miss the best moments. With AMPLIA TV, you can enjoy our ultimate sports package and watch your favorite games on the go. Stay connected and informed with sports news, scores, and stats with AMPLIA's fastest internet speeds. Up to 1 GB fiber internet, you can stream riveting football action, cricket, NBA games, and much more. With AMPLIA, it's game on. Visit amplia.co.tt or call 800-4663. AMPLIA. Do more, live more.
Cafe, the buffet restaurant that specializes in all your tasty local dishes. For breakfast and for lunch. Breakfast includes coconut bake and sada roti, served with chokers, bull joil, and sausages in tomato sauce. Not forgetting beef and cheese pies, shepherd's pie, macaroni pie, and rice in various styles. Meat served in a variety of flavors, garden salads, and pasta salads. All this accompanied by fruit juices, coconut water, your choice of a great combination to appease your taste buds. So call us today to order, as we are here to accommodate your busy schedules or if you are having a cooking day off. Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported.
put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back, viewers, to Youth Wednesdays on Tobago Updates. Now, as promised in our rundown, we are here with our first interviewee, Mr. William Nurse. He is the former Assistant Commissioner of Police and Attorney at Law. Now, there's a big topic in this space, the arrest of the Commissioner of Police. And who better to speak on that than the Assistant Commissioner of Police, Mr. William Nurse. So good morning to you, Mr. Nurse.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. And good morning to all of Tobago and your listenership wherever.
Yes. Also joined with me this morning on this topic is Mr. Dwayne Nurse, my co-host. Good morning to you, Dwayne.
Good morning, and Mr. Nurse, welcome. I know you were here just about a few weeks ago discussing the pertinent topic of crime on the island, and in the country, and the SOE and all of that. And, we are not sorry to have you here yet again to discuss and to shed some more light on the ongoing investigation and debacle surrounding the sitting Commissioner of Police. My first question to you is relevant to your Facebook statement, which described the handling of the investigation involving the Commissioner of Police as the worst you have ever seen. Could you elaborate on the aspects that led to this conclusion?
Now, an investigation of this nature, when you go into the suspect, or when you're going to the person of interest, whatever you call them, you must be prepared for 3 events. Number 1, to interview the suspect. Number two, you must be prepared for further consultation with the Director of Public Prosecution. And the last stage is to charge. So in other words, I'm saying, when you get to this stage of an investigation of this importance, you must be ready for those 3 events. If you're not ready, then you haven't done your work.
So you're saying that those that were charged with this investigation fell short. And can you elaborate where and why?
Well, one wonders, the conduct generally leaves the public to think a number of things. How long did this investigation start? Right? Did it start 10 months ago, a year ago? Then if it started a year ago, it meant that you ought to have been ready, far more advanced. So, if it started just a week, then you might not have been ready to approach the commissioner.
All right.
Right? One of the things, something somebody sent me last night was that the lower ranked team went to the commissioner and she dismissed them. That is what they're saying. And then the deputy commissioner went to the commissioner, asked for documents and dismissed them. Now, the one thing that you must know, documents cannot speak for themselves. And if you're going to the suspect to ask for documents, then again, you're not ready.
Right.
If you need documents that are in the possession of the commissioner or the commissioner's office, there are a number of ways to do it. 1, you may do a production order. So you involve the court, so that you get your production order, and the commissioner is duty bound to comply. Or if not, and you think it's important, then you could do a warrant. Neither of those things was done. None of them. Not a production order. You badge into the commissioner's office and say, hey, give me, if this statement is true, give me documents because I'm investigating you. So the people have the right not to incriminate themselves.
Right.
And I think it was against that backdrop, when you look at it from that backdrop, then you have to conclude that they were not ready.
Okay. All right. So this is in reference to the statements that you would have made on that said Facebook post. You mentioned that keeping the commissioner in custody for an extended period leads the public to conclude that it was designed to embarrass her. right? So what alternative approaches would you have employed to avoid such perceptions? If you were in that seat to carry out that investigation, what would you have done?
I would have done all the background work, right? I would have gather the evidence as far as you possibly can. And then, when you sit with the commissioner, you are so confident that you can tell the commissioner, we are doing this investigation, and we have to interview you. We will set a date and time, and you can have your attorney present. It's a criminal investigation. Now, you have to be very careful that when you're doing these investigations, you do not embarrass you don't fracture the institution. You don't create hysteria in the public space. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So there were some statements made by the former top cop, as he's affectionately called, Mr. Gary Griffith, saying that this is a total mess, right? In terms of dealing with it inwardly and then bringing it outwardly, would you have taken this approach in that would you have dealt with it within the service itself and then probably bring out the results to the public? Or do you agree with how they took things, just doing everything in public, just going directly to the commissioner and bringing it out there?
Well, Mr. Griffith and I, since his retirement, we have not been best of friends or an agreement on a number of things, and I have to agree with him on this one. Now, as I said before, when you're doing these investigations, you have to remember that there will be a police service tomorrow, and you will have to serve in it, and the members of the public have to have some level of confidence. Now, if you do things haphazardly and as badly as they have done it, then if you are treating your top cop like that, then how would the public feel? How would they have confidence in you?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, us as young people may not understand, the institutions that would govern the police service, and especially the other institutions that would get involved in a matter like this, right? My question is, what, excuse me, what are some of the factors that would have led to this development? We are hearing institutions such as the SSA, the Police Service Commission, the Police Complaints Authority. How do these institutions play a role in this development? And do you, in your view, based on what you just said, do you think that somebody jumped the gun, right, by not involving these institutions or involving these institutions prematurely?
Well, let us start from the top down.
Right.
The Police Service Commission is really the administrative body for two ranks in the police service, the commissioner and deputy commissioners. So, now they are responsible for discipline, appointment, and removal, right? That's the body responsible for that. Now, the Police Complaints Authority, by the Police Complaints Authority Act, is to investigate criminal offenses committed by police. They can do that. Mass police corruption and gross misconduct by police officers. I think Section 22 of the Act says that. So those entities, those two entities, really, one is for discipline and administration, and the other one is for what I just said. So the Police Complaints Authority could have investigated this. They are empowered to do that, right? But that doesn't stop the police service from investigating its own, right? I am not saying that they ought not to have investigated. I am saying they ought to have investigated better than they did, and that is where they fell down. Whether or not they got directions from the DPP will not tell you what police method to adopt. But the DPP will guide you as to what you need for the particular offense. But in terms of police method, it is the police themselves who must use their technical competency to bring about the result.
All right.
Okay. All right. So, what is the next step? And let me just elaborate on that question. What is the next step in terms of going forward with the commission? Because you're seeing that we have this corruption going on in the public space. You mentioned in our last interview that there's a lot of corruption in the public service. Now, we have the officials that are supposed to be dealing with the corruption now in a corrupted place. Well, so the investigation states, right? How do we deal with this damage going forward?
Well, let me just correct something that I said, that you just said. I'm not saying that there's a lot of corruption in the public service. What I'm saying, public service officials, highly paid public service officials, hold documents and exhibits and evidence that they ought to rightly hand over to the police to properly and effectively investigate corruption in Trinidad and Tobago, and that is not happening. That's my point.
Okay.
Now, going forward, all the police can do now is to, one, do damage control. What they should have done before, they should now do it. Continue the investigation and have regular consultation with the learned director of public prosecution, right? In terms of, I don't know what they wanted from the commissioner. Let us assume they would want evidence, exhibits from the commissioner. Well, as of today, there will be an acting commissioner of police, and anything that they want, they can now get it. But if the commissioner is giving them that, he has to now be prepared to either become a witness in the case, or, according to the Firearms Act, anything certified by the commissioner will automatically be admitted in evidence.
And we didn't mention what the SSA is, and the whole procuring or the discussions about getting these high-powered rifles, which is the basis of this debacle in the first place. Can you shed any light at all on what the SSA is, why the police commissioner got involved? Do you think as well it was ethical for her to get involved in this arrangement that began this debacle in the first place?
Now, I have to agree with Mr. Gary Griffith, because what is a prohibited weapon? Hand grenades, automatic rifles, and so on. The SSA is really an intelligence agency. It's a secret agency. And, we should be very careful. It's part of the national security apparatus, which we should be very careful not to drag through the public, through the mud, because it holds a very sacred function. And we must be careful, and we must protect our national security apparatus. Let us leave it as that. It is the SSA. Strategic Services, something. I can't remember the other acronym. Now, there is nobody who could import firearms into this country except they have a permit from the commissioner to do so. That's how powerful the commissioner is. But Section 17 of the Firearms Act says that no prohibited weapon is out, right? And Section 2 of the, let me just see if I can find it. Section 2 Section 2 of the Firearms Act says, prohibited weapon means any artillery or automatic firearm, any grenade, bomb, or other light missiles, any weapon of whatever description or design, which is adapted for the discharge of noxious liquid, gas, or other thing. Now, if what they brought in falls here, it requires expert evidence. So I can't stay here and say that if it were a sniper rifle brought in I can't stay here and say it is a prohibited weapon. I am not an expert on that. Right? Some people have opined that it is not a prohibited weapon and therefore there is no case against the commissioner. If what they asked, if what they said the commissioner they brought in doesn't fall here, then it's not. It's not.
Okay. All right.
So you mentioned on a subsequent post about the Honorable Prime Minister's comment on the matter. Can you shed some light on what your views are based on his commentary?
Now, people in high public office must be very careful. The Prime Minister has made a number of statements, and most of them, I think, were made in Parliament. The first one I noted was one he said somewhere in Parliament. We knew that those who were in the executive did not measure up, not quoting him. So we went for Gibbs and Iwaski. The other statement was, police are hiding from the bandits. In the station, they turn off the lights at night and hide because they're afraid. Words to the effect. And then the last one, the Service Commission said that they will not appoint if there's a sitting commissioner. Look at the events that follow, especially the last statement.
You and just for the viewership's benefit, can you elaborate on the events that follow?
Well, the last event that followed is the one you're talking about this morning.
Okay.
The question is, there's a political twist to it. Whether or not it was a prompt. People can deduce from these things whatever they make of it. Because when you make lablash statement like that, if your statement is not cultured, then the question is, let us look and see who informed the Service Commission about the arrest of the commissioner. The investigator herself. Now, generally in the police service, there was some standard. The senior deputy commissioner will be the commissioner administration, deputy commissioner administration. So that deputy commissioner administration will receive the document from you and have it remitted to the Service Commission.
Right. And
that is not the case. Ms. Martin sent it herself.
Okay.
That is what the Service Commission said, Ms. Martin sent it herself. It is self-serving and dangerous. There are other statements I will not make here because I can't confirm them, but it's dangerous.
All right. So, Mr. Williams' nurse has left us on a cliffhanger. Right, we'll be right back. Before we do so, I just want to highlight the photo of the day, courtesy Mr. Michael Bays. I think this looks like pigeon. It's a great photo, Mr. Bays, continuing what you're doing in terms of taking those pictures. It's a lovely photo, and thank you for a photo of the day. Now, viewers, before I go, I just want to encourage you all to share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
Want to get better? Where to start? What kind of exercise to do? What to eat? How to get restful sleep? Need a doctor to search for root cause? Look no further. Come to Majuba Hill Lifestyle Center Foundation at our Wellness Center in Goodwood, or Food Hub in Darrow Springs, Scarborough, or Doctor's Office in Goodwood and Darrow Spring. Contact 49 Swift 4979 438.
You can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with Tobago. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the Tobago app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. Tobago. Relax. We will get it to you. Tobago's at your service.
We party till we drop down there with a lot of pretty girls down there, down in Tobago.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
And we're back here on Youth Wednesdays on Tobago Updates. We continue on with Mr. William Nurse. For those of you who are just joining us, Mr. William Nurse is here, former Assistant Commissioner of Police and Attorney at Law, discussing one of our major topics right now, and that is the arrest of the Commissioner of Police. Now, he left us on this bit of a high note, a high cliffhanger there, stating, well, making reference to some of the statements that were made that they're trying to... There's a suspicion that she's been, there's a plot
unceremoniously removed.
Right, unceremoniously removed from the position. Now, I just want to ask a question. Should she, my first question is, should she be reinstated? The major question.
Well, to be reinstated, you have to first be removed.
Okay.
The question is, should she be removed? Now, what are the grounds of, on what ground do you remove the commissioner? Is there a disciplinary charge against her? Is she charged with a criminal offense? Is there an investigation on the way that relates directly to her office and she is in a position to obstruct? Now, those are not grounds. The last one is not something to remove the commissioner from. You may let her step aside for a while, send her on leave, and you have somebody acting, and you can have the evidence that you want. Now, the question is, if the evidence is the trigger point for preferring a criminal charge against the commissioner, then the commissioner will be charged and suspended. But unless there is another thing we needed to look at. The commissioner is on a second one-year extension, which would end on the 14th of May.
Yes.
Right? Now, it seems to me that the government or the whoever it is, because of the alleged suspension, it means the question is, can they now say, okay, your contract has come to an end, so go? You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's the legal question. And I am certain that the commissioner has eminent senior counsel in Ms. Elder. And that aspect of it will be taken care of. I don't want to say, I will not conclude that there is a plot to unceremoniously remove her from office. That is a conclusion that onlookers, people looking on from outside can come to, or a tribunal of fact can come to.
Yes.
Now let us look at all the goings on. One, shortly after the Prime Minister made the statement that there can be no appointment of commissioner because the Service Commission opined that once one is sitting, they will not appoint another. All these things are now coming into the public space. Now, will you arrest the commissioner and didn't inform the head of this National Security Council? Will you arrest the commissioner? Just questions, and not inform the Minister of National Security, especially in an SOE?
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
And these suspicions are rightfully made because
Precisely.
I mean, she had written herself.
Right. The other question is, the Prime Minister is head of the executive. There are three arms of government: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. You are head of the executive. The Commissioner of Police fall in your remit, whether you like it or not. And the Prime Minister could have, his public statement could have included that the Service Commission should do its job and do it as quickly as possible to bring calm to the people, to the nation. I mean, I think the whole thing was handled so very badly that it leaves a lot of question on which the members of the public can pontificate, and rightly so.
Right.
My question to you is, Mr. Ness, you mentioned the different arms of government, and you're attorney at law at best, right? And my question is, do you think that, you know, the many hats that the Honorable Prime Minister wears, being the head of the National Council, being the head of the cabinet, and given the fact that he can instruct the Service Commission, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, do you think that is adequate separation of powers? And how do you see proper an adequate separation of powers so that there would not be this great big public perception about whether or not the politicians are getting involved, in matters such as these?
Now, let me just correct the Prime Minister cannot direct the Service Commission, right? Separation of powers is really a term of art.
Right.
Let us assume. Well, then if they are to operate independently, and let us say that each entity should gather its own funds. You understand what I'm saying? That is not the case. So the Minister of Finance has to set allocation for each of the entities. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Now, who controls the Parliament?
The cabinet.
Our political system allows the government, the party that wins the most seat in an election, to form the government.
Right.
And they have the most seat in the Parliament, so they control the Parliament.
Right.
They have the most seat in the Senate, so they control the Senate. It's really the separation of powers simply mean that in the discharge of your function, I will not encroach on you. Yeah, you will not encroach on me. I will not direct you as to how to perform your function. But there must be interconnection in some areas, especially in the area of finance. I've named one. You understand? So the separation of powers is really a term of art.
Right.
And is respecting each person's function. Yeah.
Okay. All right. In terms of, now you said that the Commissioner of Police, she holds somewhat of a lot of power in terms of getting the weapons into the country, signing off on those things. Yes? Right. Just making clarity on that statement. Going forward, do you think that there should be some sort of a different check to bring those things in, seeing that she just has to write off and those things come in? Should there be like some barriers that are put up in between her signing and getting the weapons in? Should there be some more barriers set up in terms of getting the weapons into the country?
Well, I think we have a very good system.
Okay.
An excellent system in Trinidad and Tobago. Right, in the terms of the appointment of judges, the appointment of a lot of things. And where we fall down is really the functioning, the execution of these individual function. Now, you can't have an outside entity telling the commissioner, well, you can't. There's a firearm appeals board. If somebody wants a firearm and the commissioner says, no, I'm not giving you. If they want something relating to firearm and the commissioner says, no, they have the right to go before the firearms appeal board. I think that structure is well in place. I think the commissioner being that entity with the appellate body of the firearms appeal board is beautiful, I think.
All right.
So, Mr. Ness, we want to thank you for being here today, for shedding some clarity on the matter. But my final question to you is, today they're going to be appointing an acting commissioner of police, and Mr. Benjamin, DCP Benjamin, is the one that is being eyeballed for this position. Do you place any confidence in Mr. Benjamin, to be, as his popular viral video says, a good commissioner of police, given his leadership?
Well, I had the privilege of supervising Mr. Benjamin here in Tobago. Mr. Benjamin has a good heart. Mr. Benjamin is aptly qualified. I think he holds a master's degree in, management. He's an attorney at law. A leader is as good as his advisors, right? Every person doesn't have everything, because if it were like that, then the world would have been
chaotic.
So he has to depend on some people for something, and he has to be guided like everybody else.
All right, and my last question. I think this might be very provocative. Do you? I know it's not right for a man to toot his own horn, but do you believe that should you have been given the opportunity, that you would take the opportunity of being the commissioner of police for Trinidad and Tobago?
No.
Okay, that's a pointed no, guys, and we will end on that note for today.
Yeah, I think we should.
I want to thank Mr. Ness for joining us this morning, and we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Just remember to
share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
When the game is on, you don't want to miss the best moments. With AMPLIA TV, you can enjoy our ultimate sports package and watch your favorite games on the go. Stay connected and informed with sports news, scores, and stats with AMPLIA's fastest internet speeds. Up to 1 gigabyte fiber internet, you can stream riveting football action, cricket, NBA games, and much more. With AMPLIA, it's game on. Visit amplia.co.tt or call 800-4663. AMPLIA. Do more, live more.
Want to get better? Where to start? What kind of exercise to do? What to eat? How to get restful sleep? Need a doctor to search for root cause? Look no further. Come to Majuba Hill Lifestyle Center Foundation at our Wellness Center in Goodwood, or Food Hub in Darrow Springs, Scarborough, or Doctor's Office in Goodwood and Darrow Spring. Contact 49 Swift 4979 438.
The best place to stay in Tobago is at Thorn's Place with rates starting as low as 200 TT. Call or WhatsApp 745-7306 or 682-8676. We are located uptown Scarborough, 5 minutes away from the port. Remember, at Thorn's Place, our aim is to make your stay safe and affordable.
You can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with Tobago. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the Tobago app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. Tobago. Relax. We will get it to you. Tobago's at your service.
We party till we drop down there with a lot of pretty girls down there, down in Tobago.
MI4 Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago. Ask about our cash and transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Can you guys guess where this is? Right? I already have the answer. Do you? Right? Miss Nancy, I know you're young. Right, but
I am. I had to when the picture was sent in, I had to ask a few questions. But I think we could give a few hints.
No hints at all. No.
We can't even point them to the buildings in the background to just
we
get
can't
the
point
angle.
them to the buildings. We are not there.
Right. All right. So we're giving viewers at least 1 minute to just post in the chat to just tell us where you think this is in Tobago. Where exactly in Tobago this is?
Commodore Lions, Rishi, Ramdani. Come on, Brianna, tell us where you think this is. The first answer wins, of course.
Of course. But I feel like Bianna would get it to know.
You think so?
Yeah, I feel like Bianna would.
Tintin, Jack, who else, all of those that are viewing us, just kind of guess what this photo is.
I mean, as you're thinking as well, some of those responses can just jump up in the chat. I wouldn't say that they have one chance to guess. They have several chances, just that, whenever the right one pops up, that would be the one I would be keeping.
Bianna says the old drag mall.
The old drag mall.
Give us some more specifics. Quickly.
Biana, what is the old drag mall?
I must be really young boy. Old drag mall. Any more suggestions? And we have a winner, guys.
We have a winner.
Right? Biana Brebner says that it's the old drag mall. And she is indeed correct. That is a little alley there just before churches. Right? Right opposite Customs Yard.
Yes.
In downtown Scarborough. So she was correct.
Right.
So we want to thank opposite FCB. Yes.
Okay.
So I was wrong. Okay.
Is that courts in the background up there?
How is opposite FCB?
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay, the same side where FCB used to be. Plymouth Rock.
The drag mall. We really young boy. They're giving us.
No, I didn't know it was called the drag mall actually.
Because we know it as the board mall now, no?
No, that's not it.
Yes, we do. This is where the board mall is currently.
Wow.
Yeah, Tobago has changed, eh?
Yeah.
But
Right,
I mean,
guys.
it's for the better, you know. The board mall has excellent customer ratings, I would say. All right, so on behalf of all of us here at Youth Wednesdays on Tobago Updates, we want to just thank you for joining us here this morning. Dwayne was very elated to see you all this morning. He made it through the cold, and he came to speak with you this morning. So on behalf of us all here at Tobago Updates Youth Wednesdays, we encourage you to have a splendiferous day.
Superlicious, expelidocious.
A great day, a successful day. We just hope that we wish you all the best. And it's 8:04. So for the 8 to 4 people, you all are supposed to be in work already. But if you are running late for whatever reason, I hope that God guides you through that. And for those of you who made it on time, God's blessings on you throughout the day. All right. So Dwayne.
So yes, guys, and as we go into the carnival season, I want to implore you guys to be safe. Don't drink and drive. Right. Be careful where you go, when you leave, and just to be safe in light of the fact that we're in a very heightened season of crime. Let's not take for granted or personal safety.
Yes.
This is it for us on Youth Wednesdays. This is Natalia and Dwayne signing off. Just remember to
share the live, share the live, share the live. Up next, we have Good Morning Tobago with Miss Chanel Felix.
Gold is pop under the light, so we're going with black and gold.
I'm going for hat trick, so it's the same process.
So we're here at Skinner Park in the city of San Fernando for the National Panorama Finals of the Small Conventional Bands. We have 3 Tobago bands in the competition. We have the Tiantec New East Side Dimension, we have First Citizen Tobago Panthers, and we have Uptown Fascinators. So we are hoping that Tobago brings home the title for yet another year. So stay with us as we bring you the highlights. I think some persons were surprised to see Panthers in the top 3. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it called for hard work. If you know that for the last few weeks in Golden Lane, we had some murder, some shootings, and some bad experiences, which hampered our practice and preparation a lot. But we overcame that at the last minute. And, getting these kind of results only shows that, hard work really pays off.
To me, it's a sense of achievement to know where they started to where we have reached. Those kids put in a lot of hard work and dedication, and I think they really deserve this. I feel really good about it, really accomplished about it. So I think from here it's up.
We really wanted to celebrate and honor Tobago's Panthers' success in the season thus far, and when Antonia and the team at Tobago Panthers asked us to come and be a part, we all collectively said yes, we will do it and we will make it fun. It really was fun for us, and we hoping that the band wins.
So I just discovered that Miss Tiny Winey is actually the reigning Miss Lauren Rivet, Rachel Cattell.
Yes. Good night, everyone.
So, what was it like being on stage in this capacity?
Well, I mean, obviously it's very different, but still the energy is still the same, the commitment is still the same, and the support for the company, the support for the team, the support for Tobago remains the same as Miss Larrivee 2024 coming from Tobago, and I continue to show my support to all cultural events this year.
OJ, as usual, your usual theatrical style. How was this evening's performance?
I'm really satisfied with the performance this evening. We were a lot cleaner than we were in semi-finals. We've tried to focus on cleaning up a lot of the little mistakes that we made in semi-finals just to improve. So we looked at what the judges' remarks were, dealt with those little areas, and then just tightened up on the song, and I think it was executed pretty well.
So you're a captain, but not everybody knows what the captain of a pan side or pan band actually does. Tell us a bit about the role of the captain.
Okay, so the captain is responsible for basically the well-being of the band, responsible for the players, responsible for the pans, to ensure that every moving piece that the arranger needs is there. The captain is basically the heartbeat of your band.
I feel absolutely wonderful. They came and they brought the rain and they performed so well. I am so proud of them. You know, I have no words. Imagine, I have no words.
1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, that's where this band comes alive. So that's really the
Tobago Updates. I am your host, Chanel Felix. And you know, whenever you see me sitting here, it's because we're about to have those conversations that you want to have while I ask those questions that you want asked. But before we get into this morning's interesting conversation, I want to apologize on behalf of Tobago Updates, because yesterday we made an announcement that this morning in our Beyond the Headlines conversations that we would have been chatting with the Honorable Shampa Kujo Lewis. However, she was not able to make it this morning, but we would be chatting with one of her colleagues. This morning we are chatting with Senator Lawrence Hislop, and I look forward to having that conversation this morning. But before we even get into that, we are speaking about World Read Aloud Day. And for many of you, when we think about that, we think about the kids sitting down and being read to. So this morning we are in studio and we are chatting with Miss Chrisan Daniel.
Yes.
My apologies. And this morning we are chatting about World Read Aloud Day, and you are the secretary for the Writers Guild. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. Good morning, Tobago.
Excellent. Now, when we think about World Read Aloud Day, we often know that there's usually something happening at the Scarborough Library where we have kids and they are being read stories. Sometimes we even see some of the secretaries going into the primary schools and the preschools and reading stories to the kids. But what is the international significance of World Read Aloud Day?
Well, the international significance is to ensure that, to encourage people to read, especially to children, because it's a human right. Persons we must encourage persons and ensure that persons be able to read. It's organized by the World Literary, it's an international organization, and we like to push it out throughout the world so that persons understand the importance of reading. And we know because right now persons don't really read much, and we really don't want to lose that trend of persons, picking up a book and reading. And even we want to encourage mothers, it starts from in the womb. You can read to your baby while your baby's in the womb, get a really good story and, start that, that interaction, because they do understand what is going on.
Right. And what is happening here in Tobago for World Read Aloud?
Okay, well, what is happening for World Read Aloud Day? Obviously, they will have like stories actually being read in the library to the children, and also the Tobago Writers Guild. We have already embarked in the past going to schools. We've been to the primary, the preschool, and also the secondary schools, reading to the children, of course, of age-appropriate stories, in fact they can understand, especially for those who are embarking on going to do their CXCs. We encourage them to read and, look at other writers so that they can do well, excel in their CXC.
Right,
subjects.
and what can we look forward to from the Tobago Writers Guild this World Read Aloud Day?
Obviously, you can look forward to us going up there and reading to the children and reading to the public. And also we have other events coming up where we read to the public as well in a different vibes, I should say. We're going to be having some stuff coming up for the Easter. So we're going to have like a really nice literary affair day so that persons could come out and read. We encourage people to come and read their stories, even though it's poetry, just do something, pick up a book, a story that they wrote, just come out and just read to the public.
Excellent. So we want to thank you so much for coming on this morning, Ms. Danielle. And so tell the people again, what are you doing today and possibly how can they get involved?
Well, most I would like to tell the people of Tobago, parents, take a book and read to your children, read them a story before. We still have time. We'll read aloud day. It's February the 5th today. You still have time to read. Read to the children. I encourage the teachers in the schools again. Go on we used to go on the mango tree or the almond tree, right? And sit and read. And this is one of my favorite times. Just read. Just read. Pick up something and read. Read to the people. Just read.
Excellent. So guys, you heard it right here. Today is World Read Aloud Day. And this is an encouragement to you to pick up something and read, and also pick up something and read to your kids or any child that is in your close vicinity. Guys, we want to thank you so much. So we're going to take a break right here and we'll be back right after this. See you soon.
Okay.
So guys, there are some new developments in housing in Tobago. So it's goat racing time. This is 116, the show that keeps you in the know with all things Tobago House of Assembly. Each week, 116 delivers a fun and engaging overview of the latest developments, achievements, activities, and events of our dynamic assembly. So join me. Let's dive into the Tobago House of Assembly's Week in Review right here on 116.
Coconut's Cafe, the buffet restaurant that specializes in all your tasty local dishes. For breakfast and for lunch. Breakfast includes coconut bake and sada roti, served with chokers, bull joil, and sausages in tomato sauce. Not forgetting beef and cheese pies, shepherd's pie, macaroni pie, and rice in various styles. Meat served in a variety of flavors, garden salads, and pasta salads. All this accompanied by fruit juices, coconut water, your choice of a great combination to appease your taste buds. So call us today to order, as we are here to accommodate your busy schedules or if you are having a cooking day off.
When the game is on, you don't want to miss the best moments. With AMPLIA TV, you can enjoy our ultimate sports package and watch your favorite games on the go. Stay connected and informed with sports news, scores, and stats with AMPLIA's fastest internet speeds. Up to 1 GB fiber internet, you can stream riveting football action, cricket, NBA games, and much more. With AMPLIA, it's game on. Visit amplia.co.tt or call 800-4663. AMPLIA. Do more, live more.
good morning, and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Update. As indicated previously, this morning I am chatting with Senator Lawrence Hislop, and he is sitting in for his colleague, the Minister of Sport and Community Development, Shamfa Kajol-Lewis. This morning we are going beyond the headlines. We want to say good morning to you.
Good morning, Chanel. How are you doing? Good morning, Tobago. Morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
Excellent. Now, when we talk about beyond the headlines, there are a lot of things that we see out there in the public space, but we don't really know the person behind the headlines, or maybe sometimes getting the clarity that is often not given through sometimes headlines that are clickbait or stories that only tell half of this story. Now, you have had your fair share of headlines, I believe, throughout your term, that you might have felt like this does not cover the entire picture. I remember one of those particularly had to do with the Tobago oil spill.
Right.
When I said to you that I remember you saying that you felt like 50 million was enough, but that Tobago would be getting more money. So tell us about that a little bit. Give us the full story.
Well, the full story is that in my contribution that day in the Senate, I did say that 50 million was not enough, but additional funds would be coming, or additional assistance would be coming to help. And I think the headline spoke to the fact that I said that 50 million was enough when I didn't say that, when I said the complete opposite, because I recognize the magnitude of the challenge that the island was facing with the oil spill. And that was the government's initial response. And we saw that after that significant assistance would have come, not necessarily in allocation per se, but government's response. The national government actually took up more of the oil spill recovery than the THA in terms of the expenditure. Because of the salvage of the vessel, the move of the vessel, the salvage of the oil with the tanker that would have been in the port for days on end, just receiving the oil. The Ministry of Energy took up that, and at a joint select committee recently, it was brought to our attention that the oil that is being stored at Studley Park, that there was an arrangement between the central government and the THA for the central government to take responsibility for the removal of the oil at Studley Park. And that came out from one of the officials of the THA who shared with us that was an arrangement that Ministry of Energy gave it to NGC to do the procurement for contractors to come to remove the oil. So all of that is cost that was incurred by the central government. So the 50 million would have been sent to assist with extraordinary spend of the Tobago House of Assembly with regards to the oil spill. But I did say that it was not enough to treat with the oil spill. But that's just part of the course. You say things, and I've recognized being in the business that the media may make mistakes, whether they're mistakes or they're willful. It's part of the course, and you try to correct it, or you just move on.
Totally understood. Now we're in a situation where a number of fisher folk are still coming out and saying we have not yet been compensated.
Yeah.
And you hear the IOPC saying we are still able to take claims from the fisher folk, but the fisher folk are saying we are not adequately prepared or having the capacity to fill these forms out and truly setting up a good claim. So one of the suggestions that I would have made was to possibly hold a workshop with the fisher folk the IOPC coming to Tobago to host that workshop to give the clarity that is needed and help guide fisher folk in their application. However, I don't think anybody kind of picked up on that. But do you see that as being a fundamental part of bridging the gap between these organizations and the grassroots?
I guess any opportunity that you can have better collaboration for better results for persons affected in anything, whether it be disaster or even an individual who has their own daily challenges, whatever collaboration that could take place to make the process easier for assistance to get to an individual is always welcomed, and maybe it's something that IOPC can look at.
Right. And do you think, being someone who has parliamentary colleagues, you're often there yourself, that you can try to have that communication to push and advocate for this to happen? You and your other colleagues.
Well, first and foremost, we have to know exactly what the challenges. I don't know what the challenges are, and if I believe if the fisher folk come forward and speak to the MPs, that's something like that can. I don't see why it can't be. Maybe the MPs advocating for that to happen, and that's what we have to understand, that the MPs sit in the role of advocacy, but MPs cannot advocate for something that they're unaware of.
Understood. And I remember earlier I did make a mistake on set when I said that the Office of the Representative for Tobago East, Ayanna Webster Roy, was offering assistance to fisher folk in applying for that, to file their claim, and that it was available at CAS, and she ensured to offer the clarity, asking for an apology for that no assistance at all was being meted out to the fisher folk. Do you feel like the MP for Tobago West and Tobago East should take that type of initiative to try and bridge that gap?
No, I can't speak for either MP and what initiatives they can roll out. As I said, if they are unaware that there is a gap, then you can't fill a gap that you're unaware of. And so if the fishermen are having challenges, they have avenues via different government officials, whether it be their area representative from the Tobago House of Assembly standpoint, or even the MPs. And so if there is a gap, they have to be aware that there is a gap before they can even try as much as possible to be that bridge. And so if fishermen are having challenges, fishermen have avenues that they can reach out to the area representatives, to the MPs, and so on, and share their concerns. But again, we see where persons take up the role of governance or their responsibilities based on how they feel. And so you may have people who say that the THA is responsible for fisheries in Tobago and so on, and that kind of thing. So if the fishermen are having challenges, then your first port of call, or one of your main ports of call, could be your area representative, the secretary for the division. You have a fisheries department, and those are the persons that you could have conversations with.
Right.
Yeah.
Persons are often, making statements that might allude to the fact that persons like yourself are silent on Tobago matters. But can you offer clarity as to what your role is as a senator?
But you see, the first question you should ask the persons who make that statement is, what am I silent on? Because I don't think since I became a senator that I've been silent on Tobago matters. I've spoken up on Tobago's matters, whether it be in support of something or highlighting something that we recognize is a deficiency. And so when persons say I'm silent, I want to know in what regard are they speaking about, because I've been very vocal on Tobago matters whenever I have the opportunity to speak, whether it be in the Senate, whether it be in an interview, we're doing a program advocating for something. I've been very vocal on Tobago matters. I've always been in the media, always been available when I'm asked to do an interview and to share my position and the party's position on Tobago. And I can't see in what regard persons are saying that I'm silent on Tobago matters. Is it because I am not saying what you want to hear me say that you say I'm silent? And not because you're not hearing doesn't mean that work is not being done and advocacy is not being done. And so my role as a senator is to, especially coming from Tobago, is to put forward the Tobago position on particular issues, to highlight the Tobago position on issues. When I sit on joint select committees, I don't always treat with, or it's not only the national issues that I deal with on a joint select committee. A lot of the times, I would zero in on what an agency's work or how an agency's work affects Tobago and what it is delivering Tobago. And I remember one of the conversations we had was with the Bureau of Standards, and what is their presence in Tobago? What are they doing in Tobago? And coming out of that, we were able to highlight the fact that they're here. There's an office. They come. I think they're 2 days a week and that kind of thing. And to speak to the fact that the Bureau of Standards is looking to increase its staff in Tobago and to have a more permanent presence in Tobago. And so those are the kinds of things. Whenever divisions come before joint select committees, a lot of the times I may take the lead on Tobago issues, and it's from there that we've identified challenges. As I said, that's where it came to the fore that the oil that is being stored at the Studley Park landfill is being, that the central government, in collaboration with the THA, that the central government has now taken responsibility to remove the oil.
So, and how does having a senator that is Tobagonian help to impact Tobago's overall development?
Well, I think I'm not a cabinet minister, and so the voice and the advocacy, there's an additional voice to your 2 MPs who are cabinet ministers. And so there are things that, let's take for instance, if there's a challenge that somebody may be having at maybe Registrar General, you could speak to a colleague and ask what's happening, and ask them to look into it, and they will look into it, and they can come to, you could find solutions. That's what we do. Instead of always making noise, you can speak to your colleagues and ask a colleague, hey, I got a call concerning this. Could you look into it? There's so many other areas that you can just speak to a colleague, have them look into it, have the problem rectified, or look for a solution. Because you see, sometimes things happen within departments and divisions of ministries that have responsibility in Tobago, and the minister may not be aware, and a resident of Tobago may just reach out to me or to the MP because I may be a little more accessible on a particular day than an MP, and it gives a Tobagonian an additional person to reach out to who has some sort of connection that could make something happen, that could make the solution, we could find a solution to the challenge that the person may be having. So Tobago finds itself in a very unique position that we have, and in this regard now you have 2 senators from Tobago. So it gives you additional voice, it gives you an additional avenue for assistance, for collaboration, for connection. And it's not that we take over the work of the MP. We cannot do that. Of the MPs, we can't do that. But what we do is you quietly pick up the phone, you call somebody, you send a message, hey, this is going on. Could we look at how to...
And when it comes to those conversations with, not necessarily your colleagues, but persons that you may come into contact with, the New Tobago Airport, has that been one of the conversations that has come up, specifically when it comes to businesses and Tobagonians being able to benefit from, on a business perspective, economically from that new airport?
Well, it is. I have been asked about it. I've been asked about it personally. The Airports Authority will put out an ad when it is time for them to look for concessionaires. And I can't say, I don't have the information whether or not there would be an allocation for Tobagonians and that kind of thing.
Is this something that you are advocating for?
Well, listen, whether it's advocating or... we have to understand that these things have a process to follow. And it's conversations that you can have. And it's also conversations that we can have with the members of parliament and so on. But we're looking for let's wait for the process to take its place. Let's let the ads come out. The Airports Authority will put out an ad when that time is appropriate, and then we could.
But the Airport Authority does have a board.
Yeah.
Right? And recommendations are often made to the board to ensure that there is a quota of Tobagonians that can benefit as concessionaires or other businesses that are present in that airport. And a lot of Tobago businesses have come forward to ask, what would we be benefiting from this airport? Is it a situation where, we are submitting tenders and we are graded on the scale as everyone else, and maybe a business person in Trinidad who has the capacity because they already maybe have 3-4 branches of their existing business may get a greater preference because of their business track record, as opposed to new or small and medium-sized enterprises in Tobago that are still growing and building the capacity to be able to compete with these enterprises.
Well, I am not even sure it's accurate to say that there's usually a quota.
No, I'm not saying that there's usually. I'm asking if there will be, can there be a recommendation?
That's a conversation that can be had with the Airports Authority to find out if in the rollout there will be an allocation for, let's say, if you have 50 booths, that maybe 10, 20 are set aside for Tobagonians, or Tobagonians given the first preference. I guess that's a conversation that can happen. But you see, sometimes we place, and I guess rightfully so, because persons are elected and appointed. But the media can reach out to the maybe the CEO, the chairman of the board, and so on, and ask these kinds of questions, and not necessarily somebody in my position that may not have that necessary or that power that to say, listen, put aside 10 or put aside 20. Yeah.
But you do have the
influence,
the influence and the air of the ministers responsible. So
well, maybe it's as I said, it's a conversation that can, persons would have asked. I would have asked questions about it, and the information is that at the appropriate time, the Airports Authority will put out the ad to treat with that kind of thing.
But can you see yourself in the future, making that effort to ensure that this is something that happens?
Well, there's absolutely nothing wrong with myself or even the MPs saying to advocating for that. Listen, let's try and make sure we accommodate as much Tobagonian vendors who may be interested, or Tobago business people who may be interested in getting involved in concessions at the airport.
Excellent. Now, you have had an image of being quite the religious guy.
An image.
So yeah. So how do you make that cross section between religion and entering politics in a social state where persons feel like two should not intersect?
When people say they see me as a religious guy, yes, I have been involved in my church for a number of years at various levels. I'm still very much involved in the church. And I see the intersection being one of service. It is people that you're dealing with, people from a religious level, and people at a social level. And that's where the intersection is. The intersection is that both entities are geared towards the service of people. And I don't really like per se the position that you may see a religious person. I see myself as a child of God, and what God requires of me is, when I'm in service to people, to give people the best that I can, and which is what I've always strived to do. I have a mantra that if I can, I will. If I can assist, I definitely will. Most of the times, if I may not be able to assist, it's because I definitely may not be in a position to do that. And so that's where the intersection is. The intersection is people. How you conduct your affairs with people is important. Not just from a religious standpoint, but just being a nice person, being a good person, doing your best to treat your fellow men as you would like to be treated if you were in a position. And so I don't separate the two. religion and politics, which may sound strange. But the reality is you are dealing with people. People are what you treat with or who you treat with in religion, and it's who you treat with in politics.
And do you feel like, your religious upbringing has prepared you to be in politics, or do you feel like it has shielded you from the realities of, how cutthroat politics could be?
That's a very interesting question, because I always tell folks, growing up and having leadership positions within a religious organization trains you for life. Because I rose to the position of leader of one of the what I will consider one of the bigger churches in Tobago, and I would have been in the leadership of that church for about 3 years, and that is, I believe that prepared me for where I am today, because leadership, no matter where you are, causes your back to become strong. And whether it is church leadership or political leadership, it matters not, because as I said, what creates that intersection, or at that intersection, is people. And people are people wherever they are. People are people in church, people are people in politics. I remember one time, or it's a statement I use pretty often, that the best place to find a hypocrite is in a church. The best place to find a hypocrite is in a church, because the church is the place where sick people go seeking healing. And Christ had 12 disciples, and one was a hypocrite, because one betrayed him. So he's close, and I use that analogy because all the others did things wrong, but one was closest to him and literally set him up to be crucified. And so it matters not where your leadership is, I would say, but leadership in the church prepared me for leadership outside of the church, because leadership, I believe, is something that you take very seriously. It's something that you don't take lightly. And so rising to that level at the church, and having to manage church boards and work along with a pastor, and work along with departments, and manage projects and manage budgets and so on, prepares you. It's because people don't recognize that churches, in some instances, can operate like a business, because you have money coming in, you have people to manage, you have departments to manage, and if you mess up, it affects lives. And it's the same thing in politics. You have to manage what you have, and if you don't manage it properly, it affects lives.
In your capacity as senator, have you encountered anything that you were not expecting, and how have you been able to deal with that?
I think getting into the Senate was an interesting. It was interesting for me. I learned a lot, but to say that I've experienced something that I didn't expect, I don't think so. And I think the question may be a little challenging for me to answer, because
you step into certain portfolios and you have an idea of what that might look like or feel like for you, whether it be on a personal level, on a family level, or on a professional level. And then you get there and you're like, okay, this was not what I was expecting at all from this. And how have you been able to maneuver through that?
From that perspective, I think persons on the outside looking in see a senatorial position or a minister's position as a cushy position. It's not. It's a lot of long nights. I remember my first sitting actually finished after 1 o'clock in the morning. I didn't contribute in that debate, but we left the chamber after 1 in the morning. And those are things that you may not prepare yourself for. The constant back and forth on the air bridge, and the constant transportation and the constant movement and the Joint Select Committee meetings, and you may have a GSC today and a sit-in tomorrow and those kinds of things. It's not as cushy as people think it is. Certainly not cushy. It's a lot of work, but you have to adjust. And on that day when we left the chamber at 1 o'clock. I went to sleep, but I had ministerial colleagues who were ministers, who obviously had to get up in a couple hours to go to a meeting, to do something at the office and that kind of thing. So when we sometimes looking on from the outside, we see it as luxury. It is certainly not. Yes, there's some privileges that comes with the office, but the level of work that is required, it can get a little too much sometimes, and not necessarily for me, because I don't have a portfolio. So there are days that I may not have to be in Trinidad for weeks. Sometimes if we do have a sit-in, if we do have a Joint Select Committee, I may not have to be in Trinidad. But when you consider, let's say for instance, our 2 MPs who reside in Tobago, have families in Tobago, but they have to be constantly back and forth, and that also can pose a challenge. I tell people, a 20-minute flight, it takes you 3 hours, because your preparation for the flight, get on the flight, get to Trinidad, transit from Piarco to Port of Spain, it does take a toll.
Understood. Have you ever found yourself in a position where you felt like you were unprepared, and how were you able to maneuver that, or even feeling somewhat of an imposter getting into it for the first time, and how were you able to deal with that? Imposter is a strong word. There's the imposter syndrome of feeling like you don't deserve to be in the room. Well,
I don't think I've ever felt that I don't deserve to be in the room, because what I bring to the table, others don't. Because my perspective is unique. My perspective comes from my own background, my own challenges, and I think people forget that before I became a senator, I had to go through everything that everybody goes through, and becoming a senator doesn't necessarily change that. I've persons who are closest to me will tell you one of my biggest mantras is positions are temporary. And so, and I always say that I serve at the pleasure of one individual. I serve at the pleasure of the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. And so whenever you occupy a position and think that you're untouchable, something's wrong with you if you think that, because whatever little privilege you have now, I could get a message now that says appointment has been revoked because we're looking to go in a different direction. So if you think that your position sets you apart from people, one of the things I shouldn't say I dread, but one of the things that gives me a little discomfort is if I am at the airport and a security officer sees me and wants me to jump the line. It puts a feeling in me that, hey, these people here, come on. So those kinds of things, so I have never had a challenge being in the room with persons who others may think are more superior. What you do is that you learn when you're in the room. You learn and you contribute. And that's one of the things that I have benefited as a senator, getting in, not having quote unquote what you may consider political pedigree. But when I'm in the room, I do my best to absorb as much and learn as much and contribute as well, because my contribution is valuable. It adds value to whatever is taking place. I remember my first stint on a Joint Select Committee. This is the first time you're not trained for it, and that's a thing that a lot of people don't really recognize. You are thrown into the deep end in some instances, and you have to swim. And so in a Joint Select Committee, you face on with colleagues, you face on with opposition members. One of the committees that I am on is chaired by the Speaker of the House, And so you face on with Madam Speaker, and then you face on with technocrats in ministries. And you have to find your way within that whole makeup. And the parliamentary staff is such an excellent bunch of people that they assist members, and even members who've been there 10, 15 years. Senator Mark has been there since I know politics, really. And he's one of the longest serving, what I would say, parliamentarians. And he as well gets significant assistance from the parliamentary staff. And so you now take the documentation that you've been given. There's a lot of reading, because if you have to do an inquiry into an agency, the agency sends written responses. And you have to do a lot of reading, you have to dissect the information, you do your research. The parliamentary staff provides you with what they call issues papers, which are guideline questions. But you as well have to determine from the written responses and even the guideline questions, how do you couch questions to get the response for the public? And so those are the kinds of things that you have to learn quickly. You have to be confident in what you're doing. You can't shy away, because if you shy away, you could be eaten up. Your contributions have to be well thought out. Sometimes you are thrown into a debate. You may have to bring a point that you didn't even prepare for, especially when you're doing rebuttals. Because I remember on the debate with the coat of arms, the national emblems, Senator Mark made a comment about the committee, the National Emblems Committee, not being consulted on the change. And he sought to quote from the Act, the National Emblems Act. But what he failed to do was to completely quote the clause that he was quoting. And I was handed, because I had to enter the debate as the second government speaker. And I was handed the same act and asked to look at the clause and tell me what you see in the clause. And when I read the clause, I recognized that consulting the committee is not a must for the minister. Now, the committee has to be set up, but the committee is an advisory committee, and it is not absolutely necessary for the minister to consult the committee on changes to the coat of arms or to the national emblems. And those are the kinds of things that if you shy away from, you lose the moment, and you lose what you bring to the table.
Understood. Now we're having an interesting conversation. We almost forgot that we have to go to the break. So guys, we'll take a break right here, and we'll see you soon right after this.
It's a brand new morning, rise up.
Rotisserie, mouth-watering fries, salads, combos, and specials galore. Feeling for something to eat? Come and see. Our rotisserie is seasoned to the T. Kicking chicken, masala, and jerk roast. Crispy fries made from scratch. Who do you know can beat that? Or salads freshly cut and packed. When you taste it, you'll be wanting to come back. So come check us out on number 2 Robinson Street, Uptown Scarborough, Tobago. We open on Saturday nights from 7:30 to 11:30 p.m. Monday to Thursday, we're open from 10 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. and on Friday, 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Contact us at 772-7443 and all social media handles at The Rotisserie Factory. Good morning, morning, good morning, morning. Put a smile on your
Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supply specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported.
Good morning, Tobago. Now we are going beyond the headlines, and this morning we are chatting with Senator Lawrence Hislop. Now we've been having an extremely interesting conversation about his role as senator, his ability to advocate on Tobago's behalf, and the benefits being derived from having Tobago representatives in the parliament as senators. Now, when it comes to the issue or the topic of Tobago's autonomy, you are one of the strong advocates for supporting that bill. Now, the Tobago Constitutional Amendment Bill fell through because we didn't receive the support of the opposition. However, with all of that, many conversations were had. Where are we going from here? What are the next steps? Is it that the central government has now realized that Tobagonians are not serious about autonomy, so let's put this one on the back burner? Or is there a new perspective, new lens being brought on the whole autonomy issue, and change is being made in the background to ensure that when it comes back to the House, that it is supported?
You know, I want to remind us of where this process started. I should say the modern process. And I think we sometimes fail to remember that it was a chief secretary, a PNM chief secretary, along with Mr. Tojoy Charles, that came together and said, listen, we need to have discussions on this thing and we need to speak to this thing. The kind of conversations that I have had with individuals, not necessarily party members and not necessarily government and parliamentary individuals, but senior public servants in particular places have said that what was on offer for Tobago to have additional autonomy was significantly superior to what has ever been offered before. And the length that the central government went and the length that Dr. Rowley has gone to bring additional powers, additional resources, to Tobago, additional governance structure to Tobago, was significant. I think that question ought to be posed really and truly to those who are now in charge of the Tobago House of Assembly. When we talk about autonomy, what's your position? What's your real position? Because it was under the instructions of the Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly that the constitutional amendment bill could not get the required majority. I want to remind Tobagonians that every single member of the House on the government side voted in favor of the Island Government Bill, which interestingly is on the order paper of the Senate, which means that if the Senate, the Parliament is following its procedure, that a bill was passed in the House, so it comes on the order paper for the Senate because it is to be debated on the Senate. It's not going to be debated because you don't have the companion bill, which is the constitutional amendment bill. And so it was under the instructions, the clear, the aid memoir that the Chief Secretary sent, that at the end of all that he had in it said to the bottom, do not proceed any further with these bills. And that, my friends, that, brothers and sisters in Tobago, is what caused us to not have additional autonomy. That is what caused us to not have lawmaking powers for what we were going to be given lawmaking powers for. That is what caused us not to have additional funding and additional responsibility, and the Secretary of Finance being corporation's soul. Those would that simple instruction gave the United National Congress the power to say, we're not supporting. And so that question about where do we go, because it was a long process that involved Tobago and Tobagonians, that got us to the point where we had 2 bills laid in Parliament.
So when it comes to the Tobago Autonomy Bill, as well as other areas for development, how important is it for you and for your colleagues to ensure that the type of collaboration that is needed with the THA is there, regardless of how you feel personally or regardless of the politics?
But that has been the government has proven that by its track record, because even recently the MP for Tobago East reminded us at the sud-turning ceremony for the water treatment plant in Goldsboro that it was a direct instruction from the Prime Minister to cabinet ministers that this new administration that came into office in December 2021, they are young. They may not be fully awkward with how governance works. And he said to them, whatever assistance they need, give it to them. And if as a minister you seek to stymie that, he said to his members, you are going to answer to me. And so we've seen that from the track record. I hear people talking about the central government stifling Tobago for funding. That is far from the truth. Far from the truth. Yes, how the funds come, because the entire country is still grappling with a cash flow issue. You get 2 and 1 in your quarter. You don't get the full quarter. And the reality is, this administration is getting its funding in a better place than the previous administration, because the administration prior to December 2021 was receiving its allocation every month. And so when you hear the complaints that, oh, we not get, that is not true. The administration is receiving its allocation. Yes, it may not be. And I want to remind Tobagonians that the Chief Secretary, when he was Secretary of Finance, said he had a conversation with the Minister of Finance, and they agreed to this process of 2 and 1. 2 months as a lump sum and 1 come. And you know, governance is an interesting thing, because it is not just the Tobago House of Assembly that may not get its releases as it would like. There are ministries who don't get their releases as they would like. There are ministries who get cutbacks in their releases. And you have to manage, because you have to always remember that a budget is an estimate of income and expenditure. And so you may estimate to get XYZ amount of money, but that doesn't happen. And so you have to now readjust. And so the collaboration is there, and the collaboration is important for Tobago, and the government has shown over and over again that it is willing and able. That water treatment plant, there had to be collaboration for that to take place. And the minister outlined every step as to where consultation and collaboration with the Tobago House of Assembly and the residents and the communities that are around that will be affected by the project, all of that was done because that was a requirement of the IDB. In order for you to get the money, you have to have consultations, you have to collaborate.
Right. And I remember, I think we had this conversation possibly off air before when I asked, how come you did not put your hat in the ring for the next general election on behalf of the PNM? We saw that both the MP for Tobago East and MP for Tobago West went unopposed in the PNM screening. And why do you think that no one decided to challenge that?
But if you're satisfied with the relationship, why change it? If you're satisfied with what has been happening, I believe our MPs have grown over the years and are experienced members of parliament, not just members of parliament, but experienced ministers. And they've proven that they can do the work. And the reality is, if you are satisfied with the work and you are happy with the work that is taking place, why would you want to change it out?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Now, the People's National Movement this month is transitioning to a new prime minister, because the prime minister indicated that after he had some stuff to do, I believe it was with CARICOM, that then he would be demitting office to allow the minister Stuart Young to take over as prime minister. What does that mean for you in the execution of your duties, as well as the People's National Movement as an organization?
Well, I find it's an interesting way that you couch that statement, that he's stepping aside to allow Stuart Young to become prime minister. The prime minister made it very clear that he's going into retirement. So it's not about his stepping down. It's not about allowing someone else. It's about him coming to the listen. The prime minister is 75 years old. He's been in politics for 45 years. That's a long time. That's very close to very close to my age. I am not 45, but that's very close to my age. But to be in public life for 45 years is human service to a country. People think that politics is, as we said earlier, cushy. It's not cushy. And so I think he's come to that point where he says, listen, it's time for me to retire. It's time for me to spend time with my family, spend time with my wife. My wife is retired. And so I think it's deserving after 45 years that he can rest, he can relax, it's the first time we've seen it done in Trinidad and Tobago. And I don't think we've seen it done in the CARICOM, where a sitting prime minister says, listen, I'm resigning. Before the end, I'm not going to go into the election, fighting an election. And I think he should be complimented for that a leader says, I'm good. I've come to this time and I've done all my work. 45 years I've worked hard. I could rest. What does that mean for me? What does it mean for the party? It means that we transition to new leadership. And the party over the years, we've transitioned from Dr. Williams, we've transitioned from George Chambers, we've transitioned from Patrick Manning. And the party remains solid simply because the party structure allows for that. The party structure allows for leadership to come to the fore. This process of the Prime Minister resigning and Minister Young becoming the next Prime Minister is a constitutional, is the execution of something from the national constitution, and so it doesn't. I don't see a big issue. I don't see a big issue. Minister Young has proven himself as a workhorse. He's proven himself as a genuine individual, and I honestly don't see there being a challenge with this transition from Dr. Rowley to Minister Young. The party has made its position. We've allowed for ventilation of the issue, and we are at this point now where our focus is the election. The focus is governing and the election and winning the election.
Right, and finally, as we round up this discussion this morning, what are your views on the performance of this current THA administration? And if you were to rate their performance, how would you rate it?
What's the rating? What's the range? What's the band? What's the band? You give me a band.
0 to 10.
0 to 10? If I'm being honest, I'll give them a 4. I'll give them a 4. And 10 being the best, right? Yeah, I'll give them a 4. I think this administration started off on the wrong footing, in that this administration fought an election without a plan, without showing Tobagonians really and truly what we are going to do for Tobago. And I may get licks for giving them even a 4. Because some of my people may say, you give them so high, but I give them a 4. Because we had a lot of persons that required understanding how the governance process works. But they came in under the mantra that we're going to fix it. And you will ask, and I keep asking, or I asked even during the election, what are they fixing? The truth is, if you run an election without a plan, you're going to govern without a plan. And that's what we see. We've seen an administration that is governing vai, that has terminated people, that has sought to recommission projects with a whole heap of fanfare. Last night I was on another program and I said we putting up a plaque for recommissioning of a swimming pool that you spent $2 million to renovate, when that pool was built in 2 years at the cost of $19 million. And so you don't unveil plaques and cut ribbons for recommissioning. You cut ribbons and unveil plaques for things that you build, because maintenance is your job. Maintenance is your work as a government. And $2 million restoration, and I'm very happy for the people of East Tobago. That should have been done. The children in those schools, that should have been done already. And so what we recognize is that this administration is doing a lot of recommissioning, which is part of your job. Maintenance of government facilities is part of your job.
To be fair, if they have had the mandate of fixing things and they are recommissioning things that they deem needed to be fixed, is that not them fulfilling their mandate?
Come on, Chanel. No. You see, and you may want to couch it like that, but that
I don't think it's couching. But it's just looking at it from that perspective.
They campaign on the fact that we're gonna fix things. We're gonna develop Tobago, and there was all of these things about having a website for population, for Tobagonians to see what contractors are getting jobs and being able to see. That was a promise that there would be a website set up.
But wasn't that that done? I can't even remember the e-tendering.
Yeah, but let me ask you a question. Is it functioning? Are you able to log in? Are you able to log in then?
I personally do.
I don't think any Tobagonian could log in to and see what projects people are tendering on. If you don't, if the minority doesn't ask the questions in the house, we don't get answers. And
but
even
it's dangerous to say that there's no system to do it when there is an e-tendering system set up.
And even when the questions are asked in the house, they don't. There are instances where secretaries don't answer. All right, and you promise particular things. You promise a level of transparency that we've not seen. You've literally decimated the local contracting sector because you're of the belief that contractors are all P&M, and it's not me. The business community is constantly saying that Tobago is at a standstill, and I asked the question after December 2021 to know what has been done. What have you brought to the table that we can say, yes, we've seen an improvement in governance in Tobago? We haven't. When you look at some of the projects and some of the things that were done under the first term of a P&M administration in 2001, you look at what was done in the first term, and I hear people talking about 20 years and 21 years in governance. The People's National Movement was re-elected for 5 terms. You were re-elected. And if you're re-elected, it means that the population and the electorate was satisfied with your work. So from 2001 to 2005, election, re-elected, re-elected again. That's the reason why Mr. London had 16 years unbroken. And so it's not about 20 years. The development came in cycles. And for every time the PNM had to give account for its stewardship and went back to the population, it was re-elected. And in some instances, we got 100% because we won at one point in time 12-0. Okay. And so my grade is 4. I had expectations.
And even with a grade of 4, knowing that they are your political opponents, do you have a favorite secretary or assistant secretary in the THA?
If I have a favorite,
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. You see Sonny Craig? That's my friend. That's my friend. We came into we came into.
The reason why I did that is because I know that, based on the religious connection, you both are of the Seventh Day Adventist.
No.
Is that a bit unfair?
It's not even about religion. Sonny and I were friends before politics, and I have known Sonny all my life. When Sonny was singing with Celestials and so on, I would go as a little boy to concerts and listen. And so the thing about it is, the point I'm making is that the relationship between Sonny Craig and I never changed. Never changed. We never, if we see each other, we'll give each other lights on the road and that kind of thing. It has never changed. I may not agree with the policy of the administration that he's part of. I may not agree with everything that they put forward. But you asked me who's my favorite, and he's my favorite because he's my friend. We've been friends since I know myself.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah? Well, guys, we want to thank you so much for joining the conversation today, and we want to say a special thank you to Senator Lawrence Hislop for being a part of this morning's quite engaging conversation as we went beyond the headlines. Guys, again, we want to thank you for your likes, your shares, and your comments, and all that you have done and continue to do to make Tobago Updates the #1 broadcaster here on the island of Tobago. Again, I am Chanel Felix, and have a great day.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning. As the passion start to rise, the energy fill the sky.